Welcome to the Epic Success Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Shannon Irvin. All right, today I have one of my mentors, one of my coaches coming back on the podcast, James Wedmore of the Mind Your Business podcast and Business by Design. He is back on the podcast. And today we're talking about the invisible things that entrepreneurs are doing right, that are making them catapult to success, and those invisible things that they're doing that are actually keeping them stuck and spinning their wheels. These are things that I don't hear anybody else talking about. That's why I wanted to talk to James about this today. We go a bunch of different directions, from strategy to the internal game to money and back. But what gets revealed in this podcast episode, I believe, is going to help you get to your end game, your profitable sold out business faster than you ever thought possible. So let's dive in with this conversation with James Wedmore and I. Here we go. James, welcome back to the podcast. There's such a great day when I get to have somebody who's been such a pivotal part of my business growth and such a great friend come on and talk to my listeners. So thanks for coming back to the Epic Success Podcast.
Oh, you had me back. Thank you. Willing to have me back. Wow.
I have. Yeah. Time and time again. So one of the things you and I talk about in our masterminds and my mastermind that I am in with you, and also just, through the years now, can't believe I'm saying that, but through the years, a couple of years that we've hung out and you've bestowed a lot of your wisdoms, a lot of your don't do this thing that I did. Don't, go here, don't go there. And, I see so many struggling people who are just getting started or trying to grow their businesses. And they're chasing after the shiny thing that everybody says is the way to create this instant success. Just add this instant success, salt and pepper, and you'll have all the magic. But there are effective and ineffective, non-effective things that people are doing that are either stopping them and making them spin in those circles, or catapulting seamlessly unknown people into 6 and 7-figure businesses and beyond. So I'd love to talk about that with you today. Just your experience over the years. I always joke around that James started in the internet when he was like 10. So
I'm 15 now.
And he's 15
I'm
now.
this many.
You're this many, but you've seen
that
the
is
waves,
actually
right?
true. You're I know it's a joke, but it's actually true. When I was 15 years old. Yeah, no. When I was 15 years old, I had a 1970 Honda Trail 70. Someone out there listening is going to know what that is. A Honda Mini Trail. These classic, unbelievable. And I was messing around. I was trying to do wheelies and stupid stuff on it, and I smashed the fender on at the back of the garage, driving it in, like see how fast I could go into the garage and then like slam the stop, and the front fender, this beautiful chrome fender, it's like 40-year-old bike, smashes right into the back of the garage, dent. And I start going to askjeeves.com. Okay, because it was 1998, and I think Google had just come out or something, and I'm searching and how to buy a fender for a 40-year-old bike, right? And there's these forums talking about this site called ebay.com where people were selling, and I go on there, and there's my fender for $75. What? Now I'm a 15-year-old kid, and I bought the entire bike for like $300. So the fender is like a third of the price of the entire bike. So what did entrepreneurial James do? Which there's a part of me that like very proud of this. And then there's a part of me that was like, I can't believe you did that. What did entrepreneurial James do at 15 years old? I took apart every single piece of that bike. I took a picture of it with my 1 megapixel digital camera, and I put it up on eBay, and I made $3,000.
Oh my gosh.
And that I was in business, and that was 15. So I was selling stuff on eBay at age 15. I was building websites and restoring motorcycles, selling parts at that age. So technically I'm almost 40 now, which is crazy. So I've been on the internet a long time.
Yeah.
And that was the start of it. Well, the start of it was probably like selling golf balls on golf courses or lemonade stands, but that was the start of the internet era for me. So
I love it.
We still had dial-up. And you would
Back
take
then,
like
yeah, you hear
a
that.
minute. Yeah. You've got mail. And you'd log on and you'd have to hurry up and upload your stuff to eBay, which is like, because your phone bill is going to go through the roof here. Oh, the good old days.
I'd really love for you to dive in on the effective things and the non-effective things that you're seeing people do now that you've done and that you see people are doing right now. Yeah.
So here's the first piece of this is that actually some of these things that I would say are ineffective are actually very effective at producing results. The problem is they're not the results that you want. And that is what we're going to call the Booby Prize. So there's a lot of people chasing the Booby Prize. And that's, I think that's dangerous for your business. So you're getting a sense of a result. You're getting a sense of something's working. And I think it's leading people further and further astray. So like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
I think businesses today, personal brands are more, there's a lot of people that are more concerned with being popular. And popularity does not equate to profitability. It can, but it doesn't correlate directly automatically as a guarantee. There's a lot of popular broke people out there. And so we talk about in our program and our system, metrics that matter. And there's a degree of mattering. So when we talk about growing a business, everyone's building a business and growing a business. What do you mean? What are you talking about? This is a powerful question. How will you know when your business has grown? When I have more followers, when more people compliment me, or when I'm making more money, more sales, more profit, more customers? We're not really in business, and nothing's really happened in business until the sale is made. Stephen Covey, I always love sharing that quote. This is the second habit in the 7 habits of highly effective people. Begin with the end in mind. The end in the marketing sales journey is the purchase. And that seems to get all lost, right? Because let's chase engagement, compliments, comments, followers, likes, hearts, shares, and all that stuff. And I think if you're not careful, it leads people further astray. And I've shown all these articles in the past of like the influencers that have far more followings than you and I will ever have, millions of following, and they can't even sell their $10 t-shirts. I mean, they're broke. And that's not a business. And that's the whole thing is like, I am a business coach. I want to help you build a business. I don't want to help you build an Instagram account. I don't want to help you become popular. I don't want to help you fill some need of you weren't loved and didn't get attention as a child. So now you're going to go to the internet and do that. And I think what then happens is trends happen online. And this has always been happening and always will happen. New tools come out and people just follow those and they let these false really metrics determine their growth. Like I'm getting, and here's an example. And again, this is, people are going to prove me wrong and disagree. Absolutely. I'm just saying these things to be pointing out to them is if you're choosing one over the other, you're in big doo-doo. Okay, Instagram Reels. Now I do an Instagram Reel and look at all the views I get. I'm getting so many more views. Let's do Instagram Reels more and let's double down on that. But if it's not connected to anything that inevitably gets you to the sale, why would you do that? Because look at how many more views I get when I do a reel, right? Are we tracking that? Are we looking at that? Or are we just saying, wow, now I'm going viral and popular? And here's then what happens. And I had to coach my social media manager on this is, okay, James, the type of reels that go viral are these type and these type and these type. And I say, great. But what does, and this is an important distinction I'm going to bring up in a moment, what does that do to get people to work with us? So for example, if it's like, here's this real trending thing where people do like, a before and after fitness video or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they tell me all these things. I'm not hip.
Dance. Yeah.
Or dance. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. But is that what's going to bring the type of people I want to work closer?
Right.
So what we need to make sure we're clear of is that there is a vast difference in a distinction in a follower or an audience member and a lead. And I think what people have done is they've collapsed the two and they think they're the same. If someone follows me because they think I'm funny and I'm always hip with the viral trending stuff, that's great. But are they any closer to saying, James, I want to invest in myself and work with you and build this business and go under your tutelage? No.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Are we just building an audience to say, yeah, but then I'll have more credibility? Okay. So the only way you can get a credibility is because you have more followers? That's nonsense. That's crazy nonsense. And we prove that wrong all the time. There are so many people out there that have just a couple thousand followers and they have a very successful business and they're very credible. And how are you you're creating credibility by following gimmicks and trends and whatever's like hottest today. You're just jumping on a bandwagon. That doesn't make you a leader anymore. That makes you a follower to a trend. And what we need to be is a leader. We can get into a whole conversation of actually being a leader and not a follower hopping on a bandwagon. So I think there's a lot of these things that people are chasing and getting caught up with when it comes to social media that we got to be, we just got to be very careful with. Because I want people to be successful. I want people to grow, actually grow. I want people to actually make money. I want you guys making money, being like, this is working. And I think it's very easy to go down those rabbit holes of just chasing things that don't grow the business. You can't cash in the likes, the engagement, the shares, the compliments at the bank. Mm-hmm. So, so I want to offer two metaphors really quick that will help this. First of all, the first metaphor is, we've heard this before. What happens when you take a document and you make a Xerox copy of that document, and then you make a copy of that document's copy, and then you take a copy of that copy and a copy of that copy? Over time, the quality of the document copy deteriorates.
Yes.
And that's a great metaphor to use here. Is right now we have a copy of 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 information and advice. Yeah. And we're hearing diluted, ineffective, regurgitated copies of copies. Yeah. And that should be very important for people to understand where you're getting your advice and your coaching and information from. So that's the first one. And then the second metaphor that we can anchor both of these and use them for today is the classic example of the iceberg. And the iceberg metaphor is that there is so much beneath. You can just Google an iceberg. Beneath the surface of an iceberg that's so much bigger than what you see above the surface.
Oh, yeah.
So what's happening is if you feel like you've been at this for some time, and what I mean by at this is like trying to get the business off the ground and something feels off, you feel struggling. First of all, we want to look at is how much of the advice are we taking in is a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and how much of what we're learning to do is simply looking at the surface of the iceberg and ignoring what's underneath. And what I always love to bring to the table, and I think this is really what Shannon wants to talk about today, is what is really happening underneath the surface of the iceberg of, like, say, my business or another successful business that isn't shared and isn't talked about, that tends to become rather an invisible factor because you can't see it. What you see is what's curated on social media. And, oh, they have pretty pictures of themselves half naked. So, which not my, I don't do that.
Yeah, wait a minute. I don't think I've ever seen that.
But that's what you see. Like, oh my goodness, this person has these pretty professional photos. If I just get pretty professional photos on my Instagram, then I'll be successful too. And they're like, I don't understand it. I've been posting every day and I get the best photographer and all this type of stuff. And I'm not making any money. And that's the veneer, that's the top layer, that's above the surface. And if someone's really committed and passionate and feels pulled to building a business, you should be concerning yourself with what's happening beneath the surface that doesn't really get seen on Instagram. And when I'm learning, when I'm a student, who am I learning from? Where is that information coming from? Because there's a lot of regurgitated stuff, and I'm not trying to bash anyone. I'm just trying to help people, and I'm not saying anything negative about anybody, but a lot of stuff I hear a lot of bad information. This is got to be very careful about. It's just misguiding people and leading them deeper into, like, if you just grow your Instagram account, you're just going to make tons of money or something like that. And nothing could be further from the truth. And so I like to look at the things that really matter, that really make the difference. And the goal, the end in mind, is more people are paying you so that you can help them. That should be the goal for everyone here. And if that's not, then I will not be of service to anybody. If it's like, yeah, I just really want to be popular on social media, not your person. But if you're like, I want to make more money, I want more people to give me money, and the people that give me money are the people whose lives I'm going to transform and change, we can have a fantastic conversation today. So, yeah.
Yeah. So let's dive into some of those things that are beneath the surface that are the real lever pushers. They're the things that you're seeing when your students, when your clients are not chasing like TikTok this week and Clubhouse next week and whatever's going to come out the week after that, because you can't miss out. Because if I miss out, I'm going to be irrelevant, right? That's that's that scarcity kind of conversation that comes in, that, they're not asking the question, do I like to be on Clubhouse? Does this align and attract the people that I want to be in business with? Do I want to? I literally had this conversation with my team. So I was a professional dancer back in the day, right? And so they're like, oh, great, go on TikTok. And I'm like, if I saw my business, if I saw James Wedmore go on TikTok and start dancing, I would seriously be on the phone like, James, you okay? Because I would be really worried. Like, that's not what people follow me for. That's not what people come to me for. So I would be pushing away the people that I really want to pull close.
And you just said the magic words there, or you alluded to the magic piece. That's not what people follow me for. So most people want, that we're talking to, personal brand, entrepreneur, influencer, whatever, want more of a following. You want more of a following. You want to reach more people. How do I build my audience, my list for more following? And they don't know how, they don't know what actually causes following. So this is a great example. So we're going to create a distinction of cause and effect. Cause and effect. So in the cause effect, and now we could be getting into a whole philosophical conversation, but we're going to keep it simple. It's like, what's causing the cause that caused the effect, right? But like, if I knock something over, I caused something to fall over. I caused a result. And so people want specific outcomes without knowing what is causing them. Okay. So a following is an effect. I want more of a following. I want more audience. And people are misappropriating the cause. They think it's TikTok videos, which it could be, but there's a lot of people doing really bad TikTok videos and Instagram reels, right? It could be, doing the reels and all that. It'd be Clubhouse. But it's this external thing that's this outside of them that they are saying, this is what will cause my phone. So they go chase this, and then they chase that, and then they chase this, and then they go chase that. But Shannon, you had hit the nail on the head, because I do this exercise, and we're going to do it right now in a shortened version, that is really a game changer. You want more of a following, so you're looking to all these external things that will get you more of a following. But if I asked you a very important question, 2-part question, maybe 3-part question, who do you follow? And you wrote down the top people you follow. And then I asked you, why do you follow them? you would get to the actual cause of what causes a following. So every time I ask this, I've asked this in person, I've asked this one-on-one, I've asked this virtual, in events, stuff like that. And every single time I get the same type of answers. I follow this person because they're so inspiring, authentic, bold, courageous, real, raw. They say it how it is, James. And then I ask the final question, which is great. Are you doing that? And 9 times out of 10, if they don't have the following, they're not doing that. So Shannon knows what is the actual cause of what attracts her following. And the actual cause for each and every one of you is in some way to be a leader, to demonstrate leadership. Demonstrating leadership means doing what others are unwilling to do, having the courage to do, create, and be what most don't. And that's what causes people to follow you. But if you are going to not demonstrate those qualities, characteristics, and ways of beings that others desire and emulate and want to emulate and look up to, but then chase all the external 3D tactics, nothing's going to change. And there's a lot of podcasts that go unlistened to. There's a lot of Facebook groups with no one in them. There's a lot of Instagram accounts with no followers. So there's also going to be a lot of TikTok videos without any views and clubhouses with no people listening. And so you're missing that X factor, but we all have that X factor. We're just not tapping into it. We're not allowing it to come through. And then that gets into a lot of stuff because of like fear and stuff like that. But that is the invisible, that's one of the invisible ingredients is you want a following. You got to get clear on what's causing the following. And what would cause your following is who you are and how you show up, no matter, regardless of the platform. That's the first piece. Okay. So now that makes sense, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
So now what we have to do is to look at the invisible stuff. We have to really concern ourselves with the metrics that really do matter. And it's very simple. All your business needs is a little TLC. Yeah, tender, loving care, but really it's traffic, leads, and customers. And when we begin with the end in mind, customers, we work backwards. Everyone here should be working backwards from saying, my goal is to get my customer to buy from me, my ideal person to buy from me so we can work together and change their lives and just awesome. In order for that to happen, we go backwards to the L in TLC, the lead. And again, most people don't know what a lead is. A lead is somebody who's already interested in working with you. Not someone who likes you, not someone who follows you, not someone who thinks you're funny, not someone who shares your stuff or comments on it. That is not a lead. A lead is someone that says, Shannon, I have really been looking at ways that I could become a coach, and I need to learn a proven methodology so that I can be of impact. And I see what you've been doing, and I'm interested. Can you tell me more about what it is that you do? That is a lead. Okay. And if they're not interested, they're not going to buy. So in order for someone to buy, we have to get them interested. I worry at times, like, I don't know if it's too simplistic, but sometimes like keeping it simplistic is the most valuable thing we can do. And then we go, whoa, I haven't been doing that. Right. So we need someone who's interested in order to get them to be a customer. And then to get them interested, we need to find people to begin with, or rather have a process in place where they find us. And yes, that is where things like social media can be used as a tool when it's used the right way, intentionally as a tool to get people to find you, you to find them, and then move them from, I found you, I know you, now I'm interested. I'm working with a gentleman right now, and someone was talking about him. Oh yeah, I follow this guy's stuff and blah, 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 blah. And I went and found him on Instagram, followed him. At that point in time, I was not a lead. I was curious. Who is this guy? What's he got? Da, 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 da. And then I started following some of his content. And the content that he was sharing had me want to work with him, had me more curious about what he does.
Right.
And then I reached out to him and I said, I love what you're doing. I want to learn more. Tell me about it. I am a lead at that point. In his mind, he sees me. Hey, I have a new lead that came in. That's a lead. Audience, traffic, follower, whatever. T, now I'm a lead. And then we got on a call, and it was only a 20-minute call. Frankly, 19 minutes was a waste of my time because I would have just said, I'm in, here's my money. But he wanted to take me through the process. That's totally fine. And that was a process. And at the end of it, he had my credit card number, right? Yeah. But what a lot of people are doing is they're missing either one of those steps or all of them, right? Or multiple, right? Oh. 2 of them, all of them, 1 of them. But if you're missing one of them, it's like this. This might resonate more with dudes. I don't know. But it's like dating. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't walk up to somebody you just meet at a bar and say, wow, will you marry me?
Yes.
You don't do that. And it's almost too simplistic and obvious. But the reason you don't do this, because there's and they've done books and studies on there's phases that every relationship has to go to in order to get, the yes. And there's multiple yeses and agreements and next phases and all that stuff that happens. And things have to happen before that happens for that to happen. And it doesn't matter the length of time. Actually, time is irrelevant. What matters is the sequence. The sequence must be there, right? First, there has to be the introduction, and then it's like find the common ground. And then it's like have an experience together. And then it's like getting the phone number. And then it's like the date. All of these things they found in these social studies have to happen. I think there were 12 steps or whatever. And so they have to happen. People have been able to do them in a single night. People do them over a decade. People do them over a year. It really doesn't matter time. Same goes with this intimate relationship we're creating. And as a personal brand, it's a very intimate relationship because you're coaching them, you're teaching them. Who you learn from it matters.
It matters, yeah.
And so that relationship must be cultivated and these steps must happen. And I think we can simplify it into 3, which is traffic, building an audience, getting people to find you finding others, whether it's paid advertising, social media, YouTube, a podcast, whatever, platform. I use my podcast, right?
Yeah, me too.
And then from that, who is this guy or what is she talking about or a certain percentage through the power of your content gets people to say, I'm interested in what she's got. Right now, with our launch coming up, the amount of people that reach out on a daily basis that are saying, when are the doors opening for Business by Design? When are the doors opening, right? I'm joining this year. Those are our leads, and we have strategically used our content to always educate, hey, here's what I do. Here's how we can work together. Here's when that will happen. Here's what that will look like. And that educates and informs people to say, yes, I'm interested and I want to work with you. And then we have a process in place where there's an opportunity. And a lot of people don't have a sales system where people do have an opportunity to buy. And I think that's missing for a lot of people. And I think it's because they don't have these 3 sequential stages and metrics in place. Traffic to leads, leads to customers.
Yeah.
And that's as simple as we can keep it. And we can go anywhere you want to go from there. But that's as simple as it is.
We dove into the vanity piece of it, the social media piece of it. One of the things that really ties into these 3 steps that I see that's ineffective is I think a lot of entrepreneurs can get there. They can say like, okay, I get it. It's about leads. It's not about just vanity numbers. But then they'll get coached or they'll get told like, oh, this is how to grow your email list. And it's no different than what we just talked about. Oh, do a quiz because a quiz is going to bring this number. And I was just sharing with my neuro coaches because I made that mistake early on and brought in a lot of people into the list that were not interested in anything but themselves and learning what was on that quiz. Weren't really eventually going to come into clients. I sent out a couple emails and I chopped about 20,000 people off my list joyfully. Because for me, the metric, when I'm looking at email now is I'm like, I'm not okay with industry standard open rates, because that tells me I've done a really bad job bringing in my perfect client. Because my perfect client, I know where I'm opening emails for the people I really want to follow,
Right.
And so I want a 50%, a 60% open rate. That's telling me I've got the people that really want the content and they want to hear and go deeper and take the relationship from the first date to the second to the third. And so I'd love for you to talk about some of those things that you see that people are doing, following well-meaning advice, right? Because the advice it worked for somebody, so they put it out there, but yet the leadership for them isn't having them connect those dots.
Yeah. And by and large, I try to not look at what anybody else is doing. That's always helpful for me today, because I think it is like, and it doesn't mean I don't learn and get coaching or anything like that. I am always going to have a beginner's mindset and always learning, always taking courses and stuff. But I think the first piece goes back to what I was saying with the cause and effect piece. If you really think that the cause is this external thing like a quiz, that's where you've made your first mistake. Quizzes build my list. Great. But just like Shannon's saying, but like a list of who? And if it's a bunch of people that aren't any closer to wanting to work with you, then what was the point of all of that? So what I think we can do first is look at and ask ourselves the question. I think it's just about asking ourselves better questions. What's causing people to follow me? And I think that's being a leader and demonstrating those things. And then it says, then the next one is, what actually causes people to go from being a follower to being an actual lead? And then what's causing people to go from a lead to actually invest in themselves, hand you over money, and pay to work with you? And I think if you looked at each of those, you'd find out that it's never the external thing. The external thing is like the canvas. Let's use a painting metaphor. We can all go to the paint store and buy a blank canvas. And we can use different types of canvas. Oh, I don't use a cloth canvas like you, Shannon. I'm using a wood canvas. Oh, I'm using just a piece of paper. So we all have a different type of canvas. But the difference comes to what you choose to put on that canvas. And we are all artists in this beautiful thing called life. And what if you could look at the work you're doing as your unique art? And as the influencer, the personal brand, the course creator, whatever we want to call ourselves, your unique art is your content. And that content is like the expression of you from your unique perspective, because you're a little unique snowflake. We all are, right? We all have our own, backgrounds and experiences and failures and letdowns and just the way we think about things. I think about things very differently. Shannon does as well. We think about things differently. So we all offer unique perspectives. And from that unique perspective and from our heart and our different way of looking at things, we all have the opportunity to create that unique art and put on our canvas. Some people put that unique art on Clubhouse or Treehouse or whatever it's called. Some people put that on TikTok but what I'm getting at is people fixate more on the platform.
Yeah.
When you see a great piece of art that moves you, what moves you is what's on the canvas, not the canvas itself.
So good.
And that is what's not talked about enough. What is talked about is people say, put out more content, add more value, be engaging. What does that mean?
Yeah, be yourself.
There's a lot of people being really engaging and putting out a lot of content. It's just a lot of noise.
Yeah.
But what about the content that is, number one, strategic to moving people from being an audience to a lead and a lead to a customer? And we can go deeper into that. But this is what I'm talking about. This is like, this is not talked about. It's just like provide value. Even that advice of give your best stuff for free and then ask for the sale is some of the worst advice out there. And people don't even know it. Why is that the worst advice? Because you think that if you take that advice, you think that's all it takes is just pour your heart and soul out on a webinar. And then when no one buys you, you're left deciding that I still didn't put enough good stuff out there.
Yeah.
Putting great, and this is why that's bad advice. Put cause and effect. Putting great content out there does not cause sales.
Right.
It doesn't. Doesn't mean put bad content out there. That's not what I said. But I get obsessed about cause and effect. What caused this to happen? And yes, I have great content. I'm not saying that to brag. It sounds a little braggadocious, but I want to have great content. I want to help people. I want people to find value in it.
Yeah.
But that's not alone what would cause a $6 million launch or a ton of sales. That's not what caused the sale. But people just think, well, if I just put great stuff out there, people will buy from me. Well, then how come they're not buying from you? Right? So everything I'm doing is trying to look and get to the bottom of what's really causing the sale or causing the next thing in the line. What's causing the audience? What's causing the lead? What's causing the sale? So I'll try and give some short answers to this because it's more about asking this for yourself because I can give my answers, but then I think we can each individually do our own work and think and really contemplate on these things. So what causes someone to follow me would be partially, I have what they want, I'm teaching what they want to learn, and I'm demonstrating who they want to be. I'm demonstrating leadership. We went over that. But then what would cause that person to now become interested in wanting to work with me? What would cause that person to want to work with me would be that what I'm sharing is creating more need, more demand for what I've got.
Right.
For example, if I sit here and I say, Shannon, my podcast has been the biggest contributor to our growth in our company. I can look at the stats from every launch, and the number one place where people come from that work with us, that end up giving us money, comes directly from my podcast. It is the number one tool, but here again, you're going to the external, right? It's the number one tool that's causing our growth. That, if anyone's listening to that, is that causing more demand to learn about podcast or less? Is that causing you, if I had a product about podcasting, is that causing you to move more towards that? Okay. So my content and my message is creating demand for what we offer. And if you're not, if you're just hopping on bandwagons and trends, that's great. You're going to get following, you're going to likes, but that's not getting anybody to say, it's getting people to say, wow, I like you. You're funny. You're great. Oh my goodness. You're so entertaining. Awesome. But it's not getting anybody to say, she's got what I need and I got to learn it from her.
Yeah.
So you don't have the lead. And then what's causing a lead to go to from a lead to a sale is a different game.
Yeah.
Because now they're saying, I know I need this. I want this, I need this, but they haven't pulled the trigger yet. And here's one of the biggest reasons why. I always give this metaphor of and I think it was Tony Robbins that gave this originally. It wasn't my metaphor. I just like to pass on great metaphors that I hear. And it's the story, and I know Shannon's heard of this before, of the dog that's sitting on the nail. And the guy asks the dog owner, is like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with your dog? It's always sitting on a nail. It's like, well, why doesn't he get up? And the dog owner, simply without like batting an eye, just says, because it would hurt too much. And that's how most people are living their life, is they're in a little pain. And each and every one of you listening if you're selling any type of coaching, product, program, whatever, you're in the problem removal business. But the problem with that is that your prospects, your leads, they are a lead because they have the problem that you solve, but they're in the problem and staying in the problem because they've associated more pain with getting out of the problem, with change. And when we can flip that for people, it's like if someone eats one slice of cake today, that's not a big deal. But what if they're in the habit of eating a cake every single day? And they start going, oh, but broccoli is so gross. Like, I'd just rather eat cake. And then I sit there and I say, if you keep this up, you're at risk at getting diabetes, gaining massive amount of weight, and lowering your energy, and you could die prematurely just from doing this. That might be enough, maybe not, but it might start to be enough to get somebody to say, okay, something's got to change. And when we can get people to be, the only way I know how to say this right now is like in the simplistic way is like, if they've still associated more pain with change than doing what they're doing and staying in the problem, they're not going to get out of the problem. They're going to stay there, and they're going to say no to you. But when they really get present to what's at stake here and the consequence of this problem and how it would prevail, expanded over time, people have an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to make that change. That's why I've been saying for a very long time, if we're in the problem removal business, folks, and you're here because you got a big heart, you feel like you're driven by a purpose, like Shannon and I are, then it's time you get that the transformation that you want to cause in someone's life or be a catalyst for starts with the transaction. 100%. And that's what needs to happen. That being said, everything I've said, it's also coming to me that it's important that we say at every one of these milestones, traffic to leads, leads to sales, you as the leader are actually leading them. You tell people what to do. This is what's called a call to action. Everything I do in my business, and I encourage everyone to operate this way, is called the direct response methodology, if you will. It's tried and true, over 100 years old, direct response. In other words, I think what we do is we've been trained our whole life to be a really good consumer. Yeah. I talk about this a lot too, is like, if you didn't grow up with a business family, an entrepreneurial family, you didn't already have business experience, then you don't actually know how to be an entrepreneur. You don't know how to be a business owner. But we all know how to be a really good consumer and a really good employee. That's kind of the structure and environment most of us, at least in the United States, were raised in. And I always found myself battling with that. I was like, am I making this decision thinking like a customer or thinking like the marketer salesperson? Big difference. So a lot of the marketing that we see growing up is big brand advertising. Mm-hmm. And we model that. Oh, if I just do a billboard or fancy branding, then people will go, ooh, I need that, and I'll buy it. That is not the most effective strategy or form of marketing and sales for a business like all of ours. Direct response is far more effective. We're not going for universal brand recognition. We're not going for billboards and TV commercials. You'll never see that from me. What we are going for is direct response. And what direct response is about specificity, tangibility, and telling people what to do. And not like telling people what to do like you control them. It's like it's an RSVP to a party. Yeah. I'm having a party this weekend. I'd love for you to be there. Will you be coming? Yes or no? That's an RSVP. Are you coming? Yes or no? It is asking for a response. Most people are not doing that. They're just making noise and hoping people cross their fingers that they'll make a response. And when you're intentional, you'll notice this with everything I do. I'll say things like, and if this was of value to you, here's what I'd like you to do next. Here's what to do next. When you click the link here, it's going to take you to this page. Or when you opt in here, you're going to be, okay. So from the direct response, we're using the power of language to say, now that you have this, here's what's next. Here's the next step. And we're leading our people to help them, you know? And if you don't like that, or you're not doing that, then what you're doing is you're relying on hope marketing. If I'm really funny, and by the way, when you're doing that, I'm going to go off on such a tangent here for a moment. Who you become is the byproduct of the marketplace. You become a product of them. And if you're like most, you started a business because there was some part of you that wanted more freedom. And I'm sorry to say, but freedom is a big word. And if you need to be a certain type of person that isn't authentically you to get engagement, to get likes, to get approval, you are the antithesis of free. Because if freedom does not include freedom of self-expression, freedom of emotional freedom, freedom of just this autonomy to do what you want on your terms, but you can't because what will they think? What will they say? How will they react? You, my friend, can have all the money in the world and you are still not free.
No.
And that's obvious. And it's true too. Like people don't respect that or buy from that. Wow. I follow this one person and you know what I love about her? She'll pander all day. Whatever her audience asks of, that's what she does. She doesn't think for herself. She doesn't speak up for herself. She just says what everybody else says. Oh, and I love that about her. It's so inspiring. We don't do that. So, and obviously the reason why this sounds so silly and comical is because it is scary. It does take absolute courage to be authentic, to be you. I have found that the more I step into who I am, the more people don't like me. And I realized how much was a part of me that was still driven to being liked. And it's like, it's easy to be liked. That's easy to be liked. That's the easy thing. What is hard is liking yourself. Oh, and I read a quote yesterday that just applies this. I think I took a picture of it. It was so good. It's what you think of me is none of my business. I love that one. And then another one, I think it's I forget who quoted it. It says, it's like your opinion of me is my business, not yours, or something like that. And it's so true. We forgo our own opinions, opinion of ourselves at the sake of others' opinions of ourselves. We make that more important than us. And that's very dangerous. And so I think the world of social media does do that. And I'm not, the thing is like people might think I'm like bashing social media. I was like, not at all. It's a tool. A hammer is a tool, folks. And I can use a hammer to build something really cool. And I could also use it to destroy something. So it's something of neutrality. And it's how we're using that tool, or is that tool using us? And these are the things that I get really passionate about is business does not give you freedom. Let's just get that out on the table. Most people you talk to that have a business feel more trapped, more overwhelmed, more stuck with a business than they did with a job. But the business is not causing freedom, and it's not causing a lack of freedom. The business is just being the business. And how you choose to show up in that business is what's causing you to get the life and the results that you're getting. And so something's got to change. I had a business. I've had a business for a long time that I felt a prisoner to. And today I have a business that gives me access to more freedom. What changed was not the business,
right?
But what changed was me. And if there's anything that I'm really getting to at the end of the day with everything that Shannon's asking me about, the invisible things, is that all of it begins with you. All of this is an inside job. Building the audience is an inside job. Who you are when you show up and how people experience you. Are they experiencing you as the real, authentic version of you in your power, fully self-expressed, just owning you wherever you're at? See, the thing is you don't need degrees and credentials and experience to be you. Mm-mm. You'll learn more over time and all that stuff. Absolutely. Your skills and capabilities increase, but you accessing, and I ask this all the time, I said, have you ever been authentic before? They go, yes. Have you ever been bold before? Yes. Have you ever spoken up and spoken your mind from a place of confidence and certainty and power? I go, yes. Great. You can do that now. Right now. Nothing's preventing that except for ourselves. So that's an inside job. Your content You're either creating content that is what everyone else is creating, vanilla, part of the noise, boring, or you're creating the content that is coming from within. That's what you're here to put out there in the world.
Yeah.
And the more we're looking from within as the cause of all the things that we want and creating from that place. I know this is intangible and it's like, just tell me what to do. Right. The more your success is going to grow. And, unfortunately people are just saying, yeah, but if I get on TikTok or this thing or whatever, then I'll finally be successful. And people are constantly chasing the external without changing anything internally. And you take yourself with you wherever you go, platform to platform to platform. So it's not to say that a platform will not help. It's not to say that social media will not help. It's a tool. How are you using it? You are the person wielding this tool. How are you going to use it? Or are you going to let it use you? And when you have very specific strategy like TLC, I think it's going to help you to use it a little bit more effectively.
I love that you bring up the tool. Money's a tool.
Yeah.
But I do see that also being an internal job.
I can talk so much about money.
I know. And I share a lot. My listeners have heard my $200,000 story. So I like to share that. And then I love for you to dive deep about the money as a tool and that inside thing, because I had a moment early on. My business was at 6 figures. So everybody looking in said she's successful. Again, playing the world's game. Still playing the world's game. Was still concerned with that. We're doing okay. Wasn't sleeping. My body was failing all the things. All of that behind the scene was not freedom, but to the world looked good. And I had a moment because I finally got to the end of myself and I got a mentor and found out it was how she thought, not what she did, that made all the difference. And one of the things she asked me to do, this was right before I met you, maybe about 2 years before we met. She said, I want you to get in a car and I want you to go drive around in the neighborhood you want to be in La Jolla. And I want you to drive around there. And I want you to see how it feels. I want you to, and it's a lot of the brain priming and stuff that I do now. But I'm driving around, James, and I'm like, I remember saying, wow, must be nice. And in a moment I heard my dad and I was like, whoa. I couldn't break that $200,000 sales barrier no matter what I did, right? I couldn't get past it. But here I am driving around in La Jolla and I say out of my own mouth, wow, must be nice. Like it didn't mean negative to me. It was like all positive. But then I remembered this moment of driving around with my dad and him saying, must be nice. These people who make 200,000 on the backs of good people.
Right.
And you know me, so high on my value list is being a good person that serves others and that my life is about pouring out. Like that's so important to me. So no wonder I couldn't make more than $200,000 because that meant I switched into not being that good person. So we all have something like that that's governing our decisions. Right?
Oh, these ancestral beliefs of money that are passed down to us. I had those from my dad. I had a lot of work to do there because my dad, it's a different generation. He grew up out of the Great Depression. So he was born in 1939. And so my grandparents, who I never met, they passed before I was born, everything. It was kind of crazy, they didn't throw anything away. They saved every newspaper because, they were in the Great Depression and they were immigrants coming to this country. And so everything was like stuck in survival mode. And my dad started passing that on to us. Like you'd leave the room to go to the bathroom and he would yell at you because you didn't turn the light off.
Oh, the lights. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or you left a door or a window open. Like you'd go to your car to get something and come back, so you're making multiple trips. You leave the door open, but the heater's on. OMG. There was some hell to pay there. And I recognized that growing up, but money is a big topic.
Yeah.
And there's so much to be said about it. So the big thing to talk about first is money is power. And this is kind of uncomfortable for people to hear and talk about, but money is power. And the problem is a lot of people don't know how to manage and harness that power.
Right.
And for most people, money ends up having power over them.
Yeah.
People tend to make money their, what their all-consuming end goal. It's like they're master in a way, and it ends up having power over a lot of people, and they give their power away to it. And you know that you're doing that when I have this certain amount of money, then I can. That's you have already given your power to money. When I'm making this money, then I will be enough, feel enough, be successful, good enough, worthy enough, right? So now we're saying that money has the power to create me. So we've given our power away to money, and then I want to be enough, I want to be successful. I did all this so I can see it a mile away. I will be all these things once I have the money. So then we dedicate our life to chasing it.
Yeah.
And it is a tool. And what I've learned today, and I've made a lot of money, right? That's the thing is like, I'm all about abundance. I want everyone here making as much money as possible. But I have a little different take on it, is that what I've learned and has been very important to learn is, and it's a very hard practice, but it's to never let money change me. Which means, can you be the same person you are with 10 million at the bank, 10 million in the bank versus 10 cents in the bank? And can you be that same person from a place of humbleness and not being changed by these things? Can you be the same person whether you have a mansion or a shanty, the fancy car or a bicycle, right? Because the moment you let money change you, then you're giving your power away to money. And a lot of people can't handle the power of money, and it ends up driving their life. You see this all the time, whether it's, celebrities that lose all the money, or people that just do really silly things with money. And this is hard. I mean, this is really hard. So when we look at it as a tool, what I look at it is what can this money do? What can this money do as a function or a tool? So like, I always love to use analogies and stories of what I'm involved with in my life. So Shannon knows I'm building a camper van in my spare time. And what that means is I'm literally building a home in a van. Solar power, electricity, hot water, running water, heater, air conditioner. There's insulation, flooring, cabinetry, a bed, electric, all that stuff. I'm building a home, every aspect of a home in like a 10 by 5 foot space. It's a tiny home on wheels. And I did that because it was exciting to me, but I also wanted to push myself. I'm really weird like that. Like I really want to push myself to learn new things and stretch myself and my capabilities. And I get so much joy and fun out of doing things like that. So there's a tool like a saw that can cut wood. But if you get a powered saw, like an electric saw, it's a lot better than a hand saw.
Yeah. It
cuts faster, it cuts quicker, it's going to cut more accurate, saving time, energy, right? And that's it. It's a tool. It's a tool to help you get the job done. And what if we could look at money that way? That money could be a tool to do more of the things that are in alignment with your purpose. Not a tool to make you feel good about yourself or gain significance or, have people think differently about you. Now I'll show them that I'm amazing, and now I know my neighbors will think I'm awesome, or my family or whatever. Now they'll listen to me. But a tool to do more of what you're here to do. Because with more money, I've been able to hire a team, invest more in paid advertising, upgrade our marketing, our branding, our experiences. I mean, we have a team of 40 coaches that work with us. You think I could do that? 40 coaches that are supporting our clients and members everywhere, anywhere that someone comes into our world, we have coaches that can support them. You think you could do that without money? You think those coaches could live and pay their bills because they're dedicating time to our work with compliments? No, they need money to pay their bills and do what they're doing. And so with more money, we can have a greater impact. We can have higher quality stuff. And that's so amazing. And to have more money coming in for myself means that I can outsource and let go of things that like take away from that purpose and mission. Like if we need someone to, like have a house manager or a dog sitter, or babysitter, it's like that gives you more time money as a tool to do more of what you're here to do. Yeah. But I've learned, and it did a little bit, over the years. You start we made $400,000 in 30 days. And that's the 30 days before that, I was almost completely broke. You start walking around a little bit like you're hot stuff. Yeah. Look at me, and let's spend it on some nice things so people know that, you made it and all that type of stuff. And that's fine. We all kind of go through those phases. But, today that's the choice to never let money change me.
Yeah.
That was a big one. So I don't know. I hope that makes sense. I know we could go off on so much about money because it's so pervasive in our lives. We have so many stories we learn from our parents about it and all that stuff. So,
and for entrepreneurs, I see this direct tie, like a complete through line from the belief and the story and the presence and the relationship of money to their ability to sell and offer what they have.
Oh yeah. You know why?
There's like a through line.
Yeah, because what people are doing, and I used to do this, but how dare you, is you're taking your money stories, your beliefs about money, and you're superimposing it on your clients. How dare you?
Yeah.
I mean, I say it in jest, but I don't have any disempowering stories about money, especially when it comes to investing in myself. Yes. You are your greatest asset. I love Shannon and I are on the same page we're on the same page on a lot of things, but like you said years ago at BBD Live, like this type of business that we're in is personal growth on steroids. And you take yourself with you wherever you go. You are your greatest asset. We can invest in the stock market and real estate and all that stuff, but investing in you is the best investment, will always pay off. And I've seen that to be true in my own life time and time again. I'm always learning. I'm always growing. I'm always evolving. And I have seen multiple experiences where I see what someone's got and I know I can get so much from this. And I'm ready to buy. And I can see them and I can watch them get into their money stories and assume that I have the same ones.
Yep.
And I'm like, whoa. This is not a lot of money for me. Like, this is not an issue. Like, yes, here you go. Like, I'm ready. Just take my money. Don't assume that there's resistance there when I'm telling you. And it's a very interesting thing. So we do that. So you assume, and it's a catch-22 that you I think that would be the right way. It's like you're in a rock and a hard place. It's like the money stories you have is causing you to not have the money you'd like. Right. So think about that. It's the money story you have that's causing you to have not the amount of money that you want. And then those money stories get superimposed on your clients, which means you don't sell effectively, which perpetuates you not having the money that you like. So it's a big one. So it's like if you say like, well, this is hard-earned money that I'm taking from someone, and you're a good person, then you're going to have a really hard time asking for the sale. Because you don't want to take that hard-earned money from someone.
Yeah.
But I like spending money. I love investing in myself. So don't you assume that this is hard-earned money that now I can't pay my grocery bills. And I'm also an adult. And that's the funny thing too, is like most of you here are not marketing to little children. I would hope not. And asking for a ton of money. Like, I'm an adult. I can make a decision about what I do with my money for myself. Don't disempower me. Don't assume that I'm financially irresponsible. And don't superimpose those stories on me. It's like, yes, I want to invest in this. I know how to get the value out of it myself. This is worth more to me. And don't, your pity or feeling guilty of that does nothing good to me.
Yeah.
These are big things. And this is, again, there's a lot that we could go down here, but yeah, that absolutely.
Well, we're asking when we're in that circular thing, what we're doing is we're asking for our future potential clients to believe more than we do.
Yeah.
And
Good
people
luck with
always
that. That's
pick up
not
on
being a
that.
leader.
No,
Yeah.
no. And so it brings it back to leadership. Even so, I love that through the lens, and that's what I love about what we get to do on a daily basis, is if you're really all in and if you're really wanting to make the biggest and best impact, then through this formula of just talking about traffic and leads and customers, right? There's all the leadership work is right there. Like
Mhm.
you really can do most of the heavy lifting, looking at the stories, the processes, and becoming that person that people want to become the traffic for you and want to become
Yeah.
a lead for and want to actually cause and be part of your ecosphere. So, I mean, do you remember the moment when this kind of clicked for you, where you went from neutralizing the stories? And this is one thing that I share a lot, and I know we share this. You've got all the systems, so you're probably already doing all the systems, the strategies were all there. But
Mhm.
when you clicked, that leadership clicked, when that finally clicked to the next level or the next gear, now all of a sudden, all the things that you said didn't work before, all of a sudden they worked. They're different. They showed
Yeah.
up different. They working different. I'd love for
Yeah.
you to talk about
Yeah, it's not a single moment. It's a series of moments
that. Mm,
because it's when you have so many, years of doing this, you've had so many like breakthroughs and just catapulting quantum leaps. But the first time, speaking directly to what you're asking,
yeah.
I had an opportunity that most people here will never have, and I'm very grateful for it. Okay,
Yeah.
which is I had been struggling for a long time, 4.5 years, learning everything, super smart. Like that's the thing, I was super smart.
Yeah.
And intelligence as a strong suit can also have like a shadow side. You think you know everything. You think that that's all it takes is more smarts. And
Bingo.
there's a lot of dumber people making a lot more money than you. So is it just intelligence, right? Um, you know what I mean? So I was just relying on that. And in September of 2011, is when that clicked. And it was my buddy Lewis House said he wanted to partner with me. And he says, you just create the content and the product and I will sell it. And we get on a webinar and he introduces me and then I teach and then he gets the mic back and he sells. And then while he's selling, he nudges me. We're in a New York City apartment in Soho. And he has the other computer open and it's his inbox with all the sales coming in. And my jaw just dropped because I've been trying this for 4 years and nothing. And I just didn't get it. And it clicked for me in that moment what he was doing that I was not.
Mm.
And I was like, there's so much there, but it was so like he was just owning it.
It.
And doing that for me on my behalf. When he started the webinar, it was like, I want to introduce you to my good buddy, James Wedmore. He basically just and it's not, I mean, like, look, you get to see where that line is. Like, who knows? But he was saying like he's the number one YouTube marketing expert. Like, there's no contest of who we
Right.
rank as number
The
one.
mayor of the
Like,
internet.
yeah, exactly. But he bestowed that upon me. He's like, and I did know a lot. And Dunning-Kruger effect,
Yeah.
in full effect. Like, the more we learn, the more we like, get insecure about what we really know because we learn so much about what we don't know. So
Absolutely.
I was not owning that myself, but there was this person's owning it for me. And that was a very unique opportunity. He is the number one YouTube marketing expert. He's the smartest guy I know, and he's helped a ton of people, and I'm bringing him to you. And I was like, wow, I was not doing that. I was not owning my own authority. I was not owning my own expertise. And the brain, as Shannon will tell you, in an effort to conserve energy, we tend to look to people to do a lot of our thinking for us. And we look for social cues and other things, probably on an unconscious level of who is the expert. Oh, this guy's got a lab coat and a clipboard and glasses and some names, letters after their name. I can trust them. right? And so when it comes to your audience, they're not going to buy from someone that they don't perceive as an expert or an authority.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's a law, like the law of gravity.
Yeah.
They will, wow, this person really doesn't know what they're talking about and they're not an expert, but here's my money. I'm going to learn from them. And so how many of you are just giving great content, but you haven't demonstrated, conveyed that you are the expert, that you are an authority? I was not doing that. I was too insecure and, all that type of stuff to own that. And he was doing that for me. And that was the first big one. Whoa. And he kind of did that for me. And a lot of people, it's like a big giant virtual stage where, if you can imagine like a conference where there's a bunch of people in the room sitting down and they're looking up at the person on the stage. This is the idea, the vision that came to my mind that created what BBD Live is. So everyone sitting in the seats is sitting there listening to the guy or gal up on the stage who's doing the talking, spotlights on him or her. But everyone in the seats in the room wants to have what she has on stage, but they're trying to do it from their seat. It's not until you stand up and at the very least, turn around that people are going to start listening. Maybe get the spotlight on you or the mic in your hands or get up on that stage as well. And so I think a lot of people are not owning that expertise and getting on their own stage as that person. I think they're still in the seats and they're still in the stands. They're still in the crowd. And these are the invisible things. And I was like, whoa, okay, I have to demonstrate that. It's a lot easier today because you've been around a long time and you really you have the track record and you've been able to help a lot of people. But, to get that initial momentum for a lot of people, it can be really hard and they just stall for a long. Who am I to be doing this? That's that imposter syndrome. Yeah. I feel like a fraud. Every single one of you will have to go through that and find your way to grapple that, but you will never have the results and success that you want while still operating from imposter syndrome. You have to get through that, and on the other side of that is what you want. That's what I was stuck in. I was very fortunate to have someone who was already very successful to say, this is your guy. Yeah. I didn't have the courage to say that myself. Most people don't have that. Most people are still waiting for permission. We live in a permission-based paradigm. We're waiting for someone to do that. I was waiting for someone to do that, and someone did that. If you're waiting for someone to do that, you're going to wait a really, really long time. The second thing, and the last thing I'll say here, is the next big shift is I was still operating. Once I gave myself permission to own my expertise and stand up and take a mic and start sharing and owning that, I was consumed with what people thought of me. I was more important that I looked good and was liked by people. Because I didn't like myself. We won't get into all my childhood stuff, but I was always bullied, always picked on, didn't really have any friends. I got booed off of my high school graduation. People just didn't like me. And I was just, and I don't know really why. I was just very quiet and kind of aloof, kind of a weirdo, just kind of kept to myself. So I didn't have a lot of friends. And so I was really insecure. And so I didn't like myself. So I would assume that people didn't like me either, but I actually found it's really easy to get people to like you. Mm-hmm. But again, like I said earlier, it was like, that doesn't mean that you're being you. It's like, wow, with video and the internet, I was like, I could just be a version that people could like. And so unfortunately, to be liked, when you make that your modus operandi, a lot of what you're trying to do is to say what they already know and tell them what they already agree with. Yes. Sorry to say that's not what a leader is. And I'll give you my definition of a leader in a moment. That's not being a leader. And so everything I was doing was need to be liked because I was afraid of being hated. I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid of rejection. I was afraid of ridicule. And as Shannon knows me now, like I laugh at all that stuff and it has no effect on me. Because I will absolutely refuse. And I wish everyone here I could bottle this and you could just drink this and have the same effect. But I refuse to ever give my power away to anyone. Yeah. And that's what you're doing. And that's what I was doing. The moment that flipped was, and people don't believe this story. I tell it all the time and they just don't believe it, but I'll just keep telling it. I'll be your broken record. I realized the people that I was so afraid of had the exact same internal struggles that I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which means they were just as afraid of being judged as me.
Yeah.
So I was afraid of a bunch of people that were also just as afraid of criticism and judgment and all that stuff. So I'm afraid of a bunch of afraid people. This is what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
And I just said, I remember this moment where it did click, and I'm like, F it. My purpose is more, and everyone listening, your purpose and what you're here to do is far more important than everyone's opinions of you. There's that great quote. I don't know what the key to success is, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody. It's not your job to please everybody, right? And be the martyr and the nurturer for everybody. Your job is to show people how it's done, not just to give lip service, but to show people how it's done. Yeah. And you show them with what you're not saying, but how you're being. 90% of communication is nonverbal. Yeah. 90% of our communication is nonverbal, and people just focus on the words and they don't focus on how they show up and who they are in the world. When I dropped the need to be liked and just operated from more of my personal power, we took the business from the previous year was 280,000. We took it to 1.2 million. So just under $1 million increase, like 3 or 4x in 1 year. People always want to know, well, what super sneaky secret strategy did you give away that you finally do? Tell me what you did. And I said, I did what I've always done. I just did it bigger. I did it bolder. I did it louder. I did it from a place of 10 times more power because I'd been giving my power away. I'd been filtering my message. I'd been watering it down. Yeah. I didn't want to rock the boat, ruffle the feathers. I was playing in the middle of the road, safe. And when I finally let that all go, that's when people started paying attention. And that's when everything took off. And that's what this game takes. And not a lot of people talk about this because it's not a strategy that you sell. You still need a strategy. You still need a plan. Yeah. Absolutely. And I had a plan that had been working, but it wasn't fully maximized to its full potential because I'd been so consumed with the need to be liked and the opinions of others. So, definition of leadership: being a leader, it really is a way of being, is about living from a future that wasn't going to happen. That's a small sentence that packs a very, very powerful punch. Yes, if you unpack that. A leader is someone who lives from a future that in the present isn't going to happen. Like it's not the trajectory that we're going if things stay the same. It's not business as usual. So a leader is living from, operating from, and creating from the future. That's exactly, the word leader is not like talked about a lot in entrepreneurial circles. It's just money and funnels. But that's what an entrepreneur is. Entrepreneurs create futures that weren't going to happen. And that's exactly what a leader is. And what do you think fear is? Fear is having more faith in a future you don't want to have happen than one that you do want to have happen. That's why you see a leader and you go, wow, that person's so courageous. Right. So bold. What a powerful leader. Because they are so certain of the future that they are living from. Begin with the end in mind? No. Live from the end in mind. Be the end in mind. Yeah. And create and operate from there. And that is I understand, simple, so much easier said than done. But that's what we all have to be doing. And and I know Shannon has many examples of how that's how she's catapulted her business. Is like, I'm creating from this new plateau that I see it, I feel it, I'm there now. Yeah. And that's what leaders do. They do that and they give zero personal power to the unwanted futures. So they live with no fear. There's no fear. Yeah. It's that might happen. We might get refunds. We might get rejected. We might get no sales. But that'll just be a stepping stone to this inevitable future. This is going to happen. Yeah. It's inevitable.
Just part of it. Yeah. Yeah. When I talk about this a lot, and I just want to bring this up because this is so powerful, like literally goosies, like, because, when my husband and I got married, we had a conversation that the divorce word was off the table. Like, no matter what, we would work it out. no matter how much I hated him at the moment, like whatever, we would work it
Yeah.
out. It was not an option. And we agreed. And we came to that agreement before we got married, right? So that's not an option. What I see so often is those who do really well, they're living, that definition it needs to be everywhere. They're living from that done, completed future version with
Yeah.
no option
No option.
remaining on the table. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that,
every time we interview like a case study, there's the most common thing people say. And it's so funny because this is full circle to what we're talking about. When we bring all these successful students and clients on the show, here's their results, here's their money. Everyone's so consumed with, okay, so what did you do? What was your ad strategy? Which type of product? What's your niche? Oh, if I do your niche, I'll be successful too. But the common theme, they do every niche, every style of launching, every type of product, every price point, every strategy, known to man and woman. But the common theme is they all said that one sentence. They're like, I just knew this was going to work. I just knew I was going to make this work, that this was going to happen. And they're not talking about the strategy. They're talking about the end result. I just knew I would make it. I knew this business would take off. And they say it with such certainty, like, the sun is going to rise tomorrow. I know that there's going to be another day tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very powerful place to operate from. It's very simple. It's not easy to get there, but a lot of what we can talk about with fear is like, what if you're so worried about this happening and that happening and this happening? It's like, okay, great. What a great example of what you've been giving your faith to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, who are you to be so certain that all these fears are just futures? A lot of fear has to do with, especially in our business, has to do with our relationship to how we think it's going to go in the future. Yeah. I'm afraid to go live. Why? Because what if I make a fool out of myself? That's your relationship to the future. In the future, which hasn't happened yet, I will go live and make a fool out of myself. Right? So a lot of the fears that we have in our business is you having faith in another future.
Yeah.
So you're already doing it. Why not put faith in the thing you actually want to have happen? Yeah. And then of course that's where Shannon comes in, because she can begin to talk about, I think is it the amygdala, where the part of the brain that's always going to be looking for like the threat. It's so much easier. Well, it's like, because my brain's always hooked by what could go wrong. And it's like, and what could go right.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the most important thing, is when we talk about all this stuff, is like, absolutely it's trying to keep you safe, or rather what it's really trying to keep safe is your ego.
It's your ego. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So when it is trying to keep you safe, and what that means is your reputation, your image, people's opinions of you. And I'm so sorry, but if you want this lifestyle, personal brand, like, that has to go. That has to go. It does not matter if you don't make a single mistake. You say all the right things, you do all the right things.
Nope.
People are going to have their opinion of you.
Oh yeah.
And what really helped me with that is two things. Number one, if I'm making a difference in someone's lives, then you could have a million people say whatever they want about me. It doesn't matter, because I'm doing what I'm doing and it's making a difference. And number two, remember, it's your life. I think we forget that a lot, but it's your life. You're living it, only you're living it. And if you're doing something you love and it's making you money, it's giving you the lifestyle you want, and all that type of stuff, then let them think and say, let them be miserable over there.
Who cares? Yeah.
But who cares? Because you got to live with yourself. No one else does. So, yeah, anyway.
I love it. So James, I would love for you to talk about something that's coming up that I want every one of my listeners to participate in. It's an event that you're bringing forward that's going to kind of walk people on a journey. And I'd love for you to talk just for a few minutes about that journey, that event that's coming up. And of course, we'll connect them all in the show notes and all the places so they can join us. But
so I'm going into like my 15th year of running an online business. That doesn't include the eBay days or anything like that. So digital products, to me, whether it's one-on-one coaching, group coaching, a digital product of sorts, like a membership, I've done it all, in person, virtual, like all that type of stuff for years. Especially for the type of person that feels like they're more mission or purpose driven. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I have always felt, and especially now, and I think 2020 has really been so interesting to see how that's drawn even more people to this line of work. The digital product, the information type business is the most profitable, most effective, and truly most fulfilling type of business that we can be running. And I've been doing it a long time, and I love it. Millions and millions of dollars of sales, helping a ton of people. And as Shannon says, it's personal growth on steroids. It's very challenging. It can be very hard. You have a lot of people today that have maybe created a course and it's just sitting there on their website, not making you any money. A lot of people that are starting to give up on it. They're like this, oh, I just thought I'd just create a product and it would automatically make me millions. That's what happened to me when I created my first one. Nothing happened. And part of it is because people are operating from this one right, only, best mindset. What's the best way to sell? The right product to offer? What's the best price point? The only thing to sell? The only way to be? The only thing to reach? The only platform to be on to reach people, right? And the reality is like, you wouldn't go and say, I want to bake a cake. What's the only ingredient I need in my cake? No, there's a series of ingredients. And if you miss out even one, that cake is going to look nothing like the picture on the box. Right. Building a business is much like the same way. So there's a series of ingredients. It's not just one thing, the one magical thing. If you're looking for that, you're going to be looking a long time. But it's a series of things working together. And so we aim to teach you how to actually run a business, the strategy, the mechanics of it, of how to get the traffic, build an audience, and how to actually build that audience to become leads, people that actually want to buy your stuff and then actually work with you. And if you just think, I create a course and I put it on my website with an add to cart button and people should just come and buy, I know that that's not working for you. Yeah. And so if you want to actually learn a process and a system on how to do that, we're going to help and really step into the role that your business needs from you. We call that role the digital CEO. Okay. This is for someone that's done dabbling, done looking at this as a hobby and saying, I'm ready. And I think 2020 really showed us that. Like people were like reevaluating their life, their purpose, where they put their time and energy to. And so many amazing people started a business last year, and we've seen more success stories. People that have taken their business from 0 to 1 million in the pandemic last year. And I want to help more people do that. Yeah. That's what this series is designed to do. You're going to walk away with an entire strategy plan for what to focus on and what to ignore. Like ignore the booby prizes and focus on the things that actually matter, and a simple plan. I like to keep things simple, right? TLC is as simple as we can keep it. And I want to give you a plan for each of those. And I want to show you what today's digital online entrepreneurs are doing differently to grow their business, scale their business, and make this, a legitimate full-time thing as we have ourselves. This is done live. Very excited about that because I love doing live things. So it's like this live 3-part virtual event experience, very engaging, very interactive. And it's going to be an adventure together.
Well, I'm going to encourage everybody to show up in that room. It was honestly in that room that I showed up and then took it to the next level and the next level and the next level and the next level. And I'm going to be cheering them on. We'll talk in the wrap up about something that Christina John Dolly and I are doing to help support you in that. But James, as always, I could go in about 17 more directions and make this a 5-hour podcast, and I actually would love it, but I'm going to let you get back to your day. But thank you so much for coming on, pouring into my listeners the way you do. And it's going to be a lot of fun to be hanging out in the event and really supporting this next wave of world changers do it the simple and right way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Shannon. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Okay. I love it when James comes on, just to get inside of the way he thinks. And I'm hoping that through this podcast, you started to see some of the things that maybe some of the automations that you've been believing that are really holding you back. And Christina and I have the desire every time that James does these events to come alongside you and help fast track your experience. So we are offering a group experience to pace alongside this major event that James is doing in a smaller environment, and then help you really get that whole strategic plan set, what to offer, where to offer it. And then James is going to dive into how to offer it. And we're going to do that in a container of a couple weeks together. So check the links below to join the group, to get in on that extra training where we're going to help you really design down your niche, really figure out what is it that I can offer, figure out the best place to start that journey, that traffic journey that James was talking about, where to offer it and how to offer it, and the strategic plan that James is going to be offering in his event. So thank you for being on the podcast. I can't wait to see you next week on the Epic Success Podcast. Bye for now. Oh, wait, you're still here? Oh, cool. All right. So because you didn't tune out and you're still listening to me, I've got a treat for you. When James and I started the podcast interview, we weren't ready to go live yet, and we were just catching up. And I asked James if he's cool with me playing some of that behind the scenes conversation, which was so enlightening into the thinking and the thought process of 2 7-figure entrepreneurs talking about what we're doing. So just because you decided to not hit end, I'm going to let you in on that combo, and this will wrap it up. Bye for now. Listen in. Hello.
Hello.
You're going to have to like pace that voice of yours, because, you know, it's going to have to start taking off here soon. So.
No kidding. It feels like it already has.
Are you like, I as a friend, I'm feeling like that curiosity around, like, you've just been so immersed in this Airbnb, the van, like doing that whole thing. And then it's almost like, okay, here we go. Shift into like, and not that you stopped, but like, you're going to have to like kind of pause that life for a little bit and shift back into this side of things.
Yeah, I think it's just it's just a dance and finding a balance for me, you know.
How is that going for you?
I mean, I love it. I think it's just me always wanting to do things like this, and just always saying I didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And then I just decided to make the time, and I'm doing them and loving it. And it just fuels you more, you know, fuels you more. It's just so, I think I just needed something different.
Yeah.
Because I spent so long creating this, and it was like, you just kind of ignored other things that are hobbies and passions. And and that's me playing. Like that's I'm playing, I'm having fun.
Yeah, I see it. I totally see it. Like I can't help. It's infectious watching your stories, because I just see like this joy and that part of you that I just see that lightness. And not that you don't have it in your business, you do, but it's kind of, I think I'm experiencing that right now too, where I'm like, there's a void, like you need to take care of the void. And so like, I'm about taking care of the void. I just haven't found it yet.
Yeah. I mean, and then it's like everything too is like strategic as well, right? Like,
of course,
like the van could turn, I mean, there's talks and possibilities of that being a business. I've got 2 guys building it with me, and I'm like, we could do something with this, you know? And it's like, I was like, just let me finance it and you guys do it. And like, here's the numbers. And I mean, like those are all possibilities. So I'm always thinking through all the other opportunities that, like, how can we play, have fun, get your cup filled, and like make it worth your while financially. So it's I'm loving all of it. So
that's so cool. That's fun to watch. Yeah. It's just always fun to watch, because I'm always watching between the lines. You know what I mean? I always have.
So what you wouldn't have noticed is, because you didn't know me at the time, but this is how I used to run my business.
Really?
So when I had my YouTube stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't around then.
Yeah, I was restoring an old VW.
Oh, wow.
And building furniture and just like doing all that. And then like something clicked or changed, where it was like, all right, we're going to, like, the vision got bigger, and it kind of became all consuming. That's great. And it was this phase of massive growth and big, and it just changed everything from the inside out.
Yeah.
And and then I kept saying yes to things, right? Like 2019, we did 21 events in a year.
Dude. I remember looking at you one point and going, are you okay?
And I
how are you okay? It was
Yeah.
more the question, you know?
Right. We had 17 at the beginning of 2020, we had 17 people on the team. We have 8 right now. And we are having our best year. I mean, quarter one, we 5x'd our revenue in quarter one over last year. Last year's quarter one versus this year is a 5x growth. So, you know, and I'm not looking to grow. I'm not looking to like, we're going to go from 10 to 20.
10 to 20. Yeah. That drive. Yeah.
Like we have every weekly meeting. It's just a different phase. Like that's all it is. It's like every weekly meeting, we're sharing all the testimonials and the results. And it's like, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Like we can either focus more on like, how do we grow?
Yeah.
Or we can be like, let's just double down in like helping our people more. And like where I'm spending my time, which is beautiful, Shannon, is like, my time is like, okay, how do I create better content for next level or for the mastermind or what needs to go? And it's just like, I'm just in this like content teaching coaching, and the team is like, yeah, we know how to run the launch. We know how to do all that. So
that's awesome.
And that's how I've always traditionally been, is like more the teacher coach than the marketer and the salesperson. And you know, that's working. So I'm just like, just so awesome. let me help our students and, you know, focus there.
That's awesome.
So that does have me less outward facing, if you really think about it like that way. It's like,
yeah, it totally does. Yeah. It actually puts you that way. And then when you come forward, it's very laser-like, which is good. Yeah. You know, which is good.
It's quick, intentional, like, yeah.
Yeah. Versus this, I've got to be 24/7. I've got to be constantly out there, or I'll be, you know, that kind of, yeah.
So we did this brand audit thing with Jen Kem. You might have heard me talk about her years ago.
Yeah, she was
really great. It was an awesome thing. And one of the things she said was like, we interviewed all your customers and stuff. And what we found was really interesting is when people get into your stuff, like the high level of love and support is way up there, but on the outward side is very like less presence. And so when we saw that, we're like, okay. And we just like made this whole big push, like, here I am, look at me.
Yeah.
And it works, obviously, but it's like, well, yeah, but I like to stay like, I'd rather be someone's like secret weapon and you don't know that I exist and I helped you, versus like, I need the attention and I need to be known as something. So
that's interesting.
I kind of like the more stealthy, like there's, you know, just people I've helped and you'll never know that I've worked with them, and I don't need anybody to know, you know, and so what do you want to talk about today?
I know. I just want to do
Was this it? Was this the episode?
We're good. This is amazing. Okay, have a good day.
We could listen. I truly, we don't need to do stuff like, okay, well, like this is what the launch is about, so let's make it about this.
Let's make it all. Yeah, that's exactly what I was feeling.